The ground shook as the walls collapsed. Dust filled the air. Screams echoed through the city. The mighty fortress of Jericho, once thought unbreakable, crumbled to pieces. Soldiers dropped their weapons in fear. Families ran in panic. The city that trusted in its walls was now exposed. This was the most unsettling moment in Jericho's history. Faith had brought down stone, but the story of Jericho begins long before the walls fell. It begins with a people wandering in the wilderness. The Israelites had escaped Egypt through the Red Sea. They had walked through deserts. They had eaten manna from heaven. They had drunk water from rocks. They had received the law at Mount Sinai. But they had also doubted. They had complained. Because of their lack of faith, they wandered for 40 years. Now, a new generation stood ready. Moses had died. Joshua was their leader. Joshua was strong and courageous. He trusted God. He was chosen to lead the people into the promised land. The land was filled with nations stronger than Israel. Cities with walls, armies with weapons. But God promised victory. He said, "I will give you the land. I will fight for you. I will be with you." The first challenge was Jericho. Jericho was a fortress city. Its walls were thick and high. Its gates were strong. It was the pride of Canaan. No army had ever broken through. Jericho trusted in its defenses. But God had a different plan. Joshua sent two spies into the city. They entered secretly. They found shelter in the house of a woman named Rahab. Rahab was not respected in her city. She lived on the edge of society, but she believed in the God of Israel. She had heard of the Red Sea. She had heard of the victories. She knew Jericho could not stand against him. Rahab hid the spies. She protected them from the soldiers. She asked for mercy. She said, "When your God gives you this city, remember me." The spies agreed. They told her to tie a scarlet cord in her window. That cord would mark her house. She and her family would be spared. The spies returned to Joshua. They said, "The people of Jericho are afraid. Their hearts melt with fear. God has given us the land." Joshua prepared the people. But God gave him unusual instructions. He did not tell them to attack. He did not tell them to build siege weapons. He told them to march. For 6 days, the Israelites marched around Jericho. Every morning, they rose. The priests carried the Ark of the Covenant. 7 priests blew trumpets of ram's horns. The soldiers marched in silence. The people followed. They circled the city once. Then they returned to camp. Day after day, they repeated this. The people of Jericho watched from the walls. They mocked. They wondered. They asked, "What kind of army is this?" But inside, they were afraid. They saw the ark. They heard the horns. They felt the tension. On the 7th day, the plan changed. Joshua told the people to march 7 times around the city. The priests blew the trumpets. The people shouted. The sound rose like thunder. And then, the walls collapsed. Stone crumbled. Dust rose. The fortress fell. The Israelites rushed in. They took the city. They spared Rahab and her family. They destroyed everything else. Jericho was no more. The Battle of Jericho was not won by swords. It was not won by strength. It was won by faith. God had promised. The people had obeyed. And the walls had fallen. This story is more than history. It is a message. It shows that faith can overcome obstacles. It shows that obedience brings victory. It shows that God's power is greater than human defenses. Jericho trusted in its walls. But walls cannot stand against God. The Israelites trusted in God, and faith brought them victory. Rahab's story is also important. She was an outsider. She was rejected by her people, but she believed. She trusted God, and she was saved. Her scarlet cord became a symbol of mercy. Her faith placed her in the family of Israel. She became part of the story of salvation. The Battle of Jericho teaches us that God's ways are not our ways. Marching around a city seems foolish. Blowing trumpets seems weak. But obedience is stronger than weapons. Faith is stronger than walls. The Israelites learned that victory comes from God. They learned that trust brings results. They learned that faith can move mountains and break walls. Today, the story still speaks. It speaks to anyone facing obstacles. It speaks to anyone trapped behind walls. It says, trust God. It says, obey His word. It says, faith can bring down barriers. The walls of Jericho were real. They were strong. They were intimidating, but they fell. And that is the power of faith. Imagine the silence before the collapse. The people marching, the priests blowing horns, the city watching, then the shout, then the crash. It was unforgettable. It was unstoppable. It was the hand of God. The Battle of Jericho was the first victory in the Promised Land. It was a sign of what was to come. It was proof that God was with His people. It was a reminder that faith brings triumph. The story ends with hope. Jericho fell. Israel moved forward. God's promise was fulfilled. Faith had taken down walls. And that is the story of the Battle of Jericho, when faith took down walls. A story of fear. A story of obedience. A story of victory. A story that still speaks today.